Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar, Innovative Prosecution Solutions for Combating Violent Crime, Grant Opportunities for Prosecutors. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Mary McLeod and I'm an Associate Attorney Advisor at Equitas. I will be moderating today's webinar. If you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box to your right. Following today's presentation, we will have a Q&A period during which I will read aloud your questions for the panelists to answer. Today's panelists are Tammy Brown and John Wilkinson. Tammy Brown brings 20 years of experience in the criminal justice system to the Bureau of Justice Assistance as a senior policy advisor. She oversees several projects related to law enforcement and prosecution, including the Gun Crime Intelligence Centers, the National Center for Improving Investigations, developing best practices in prosecution, and improving homicide clearance rates. John Wilkinson is an attorney advisor at Equitas, where he conducts trainings, provides consultations, and oversees training and technical assistance for the Innovative Prosecution Solution grantees. John previously served as an assistant Commonwealth's attorney in Fredericksburg, Virginia, where he prosecuted a wide variety of violent crimes, including sexual violence, intimate partner violence, homicide, and firearm and drug-related offenses. I will now turn it over to Tammy and John.
Thank you, Mary. So this is Tammy Brown, and as Mary indicated, I am a senior policy advisor at BJA, and I have the privilege of overseeing the Innovative Prosecution Solutions for Violent Crime grant. And today we just wanted to be able to provide you a little bit more information about the solicitation that's currently out and other resources that are available for prosecutors. So the real purpose of the Innovative Prosecution Solutions grant is to enable all of you as prosecutors to develop strategies and innovative ideas to help fight violent crime. But we also, and this is a little bit of a shift, we recognize that, the caseloads that you all carry are above average, your staffing levels are low, and that you have in some cases, outdated technology. So we really wanted to create a funding stream that would also assist you with some of those challenges. So whether it's purchasing new technology or proposing staff to help with developing ways that you can improve the way you conduct business. So we've broadened the solicitation a little bit further to allow for those types of expenses and really encourage you, particularly on the technology piece, to take this opportunity to build your capacity and what you can accomplish within your offices. So this year, we actually had an increase in funding. So we were able to put out to the field $7.5 million. So that's $1.5 million more than we did last year. And any state, local prosecuting agency, or federally recognized Indian tribe governments that perform prosecution functions are eligible to apply. So the project period is for 24 months. The max you can apply for is $340,000. And due to the increase, we do anticipate being able to fund about 22 applications. And the due date for that is now we have 2 processes now since we've developed and moved to just grants. The deadline for getting it into grants.gov is April 12th, and then just grants by April 26th. And then the project start dates would be effective October 1st, 2021. So I also wanted, in addition to the Innovative Prosecution Solutions, I wanted to take this opportunity to tell you about some other opportunities that are available for prosecutors. These aren't grant projects that I particularly manage, but I just wanted to put them on your radar. We do have a lot of funding for our comprehensive opioid abuse site-based program. So if you are doing something in that area, whether it's trying to investigate opioid-induced homicides, tracking of opioids, working with your public health agencies, working with your local law enforcement, I would strongly encourage you to look at that funding stream. We also have our sexual assault kit initiative. Oops, sorry about that. Let me go back. That helps with the prosecution of any backlogs of sexual assault cases. We have the Upholding the Rule of Law and Preventing Wrongful Convictions program. So those are really for conviction integrity type units. And then we also have a reentry initiative that prosecutors are eligible for, sexual assault forensic evidence, which helps with inventory tracking and reporting, post-conviction testing. So again, that is an opportunity if you are looking at post-conviction type cases. And then there are the list below are really, they're programs that your local law enforcement can apply for or your other partner agencies, but there are definitely grants that create a partnership opportunity. So for example, our Crime Gun Intelligence Center, it has to be a local police department to apply for it. However, there is funding that we require they set aside for prosecutors to be a partner and part of that project. Project Safe Neighborhoods, again, that's usually your state administering agency applies for that as a team approach, but that's something that they could write you in as a sub-award. Body-worn cameras. Also, you know, certainly you guys understand the challenges of dealing with that evidence. And, you know, so I would encourage you to, you know, if your local departments are applying for that, again, you could be a sub-award and a consideration to be able to fund what you need to then manage that evidence. This is our JAG grant, which goes to the state administrator. It's a formula-based grant that we give to all states, and then you apply directly through your state administering agent. We also have our community-based crime reduction, so that's really for nonprofits to apply, but again, you could be a part of that, as well as our drug court. And then the last one is our model task force to combat human trafficking. And then I also wanted to kind of flag some of these victim service resources for all of you. So we have two counterparts. We have our Office of Victims of Crimes, and they administer grants for transitional housing for human trafficking victims. They do crime victims' right legal clinics. They have a grant for community responses for young victims of drug crimes. They also have a law enforcement-based victim specialist program that you all would be eligible to apply for. And then the second agency I wanted to highlight is the Office of Violence Against Women. And again, they have transitional housing assistance grants, not just for human trafficking, but across the board, as well as sexual assault services, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. So those are other areas that I would encourage you all to look in if you're interested or working and focusing on those areas. We have developed a website, a new website, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to John, and he's going to talk a little bit about resources that you can find on the website, and then also the technical assistance that they provide to our Innovative Prosecution Solution grantees. John?
Thanks, Tammy. I'm John Wilkinson. I'm an attorney advisor with Equitas, and we're the training and technical assistance lead for the Innovative Prosecution Solutions grantees, or IPS. And so we have our website that you guys can check out with the URL right there, the link. And it has a lot of the sites that we're working with, a lot of their project profiles. We have a current new list of grantees for fiscal year 20 that we don't have their descriptions up yet, but they will be coming soon. And but you can see what all the previous grantees have done. But we also have a lot of resources on the website as well. So you can just sort of see some of the webinars we've done, some of the legal research and social science research that we've done to support the projects. We're a team of folks that are here to basically support your grant project, your innovative solution, your strategy, or whether it's adding personnel, adding case management technology, whatever it is you're trying to do, we're here to help you be successful. And so it's not just the folks at Equitas. We also have consultants like Chris Hammond from the Prosecutors Center for Excellence, who brings a lot of experience and background on a variety of prosecution issues, and Beth McGarry from B. McGarry Associates, who also has a long history in the criminal justice field, a former assistant U.S. attorney, and then also worked at BJA. And then we also work with RTI International out of North Carolina, who are really support us on research and evaluation of projects. And they also can bring a lot of assistance to you guys. So we're funded to help you in any way we can. And so we do support the different strategies through research, assistance with any kind of legal research or social science research, any criminal justice issue that you might be facing. And occasionally you get issues just with grant management. And so we help you out with that as well. So check out our website. We have a lot of resources on there, articles. We have a new prosecution guide that we will be posting on the website within this month. So that is also a prosecutor's guide for combating violent crime and building safer communities. So look for that. And then we have different events. If we have an upcoming webinar, or if a partner organization or an associated or allied organization has an event that we think would be of interest to our Innovative Prosecution Solutions folks, then we'll alert our folks. We also have a listserv so that we share information as it comes along. And Tammy will often alert us to different training opportunities that are coming up, and we share that with everybody when we find something relevant. So what we try and do with all of our grantees is just give them that training and technical assistance to support their project. And it could be something that's related to a grant requirement. Each of these grants has special conditions. You have to have a budget approved. Sometimes it's a 2-year project, but sometimes folks, there's a delay in getting off the ground and they might request an extension. And so we help with that. Every project has to complete an action plan. And so we really help with that action plan. We take your grant narrative and sort of take what you said you were going to do in that narrative, put it into a plan, and work with you to identify a timeline by which you're going to complete these activities so that you stay on target with your project. It's very easy for these projects to sort of lose momentum if we don't keep to those timelines. It's very helpful to have these action plans and action planning sessions so that we get the team together and talk about here's what we said we were going to do. How are we going to accomplish these things? Who's going to be responsible for completing it? What resources do they need to complete it? And what date are they going to have this done by? And so there'll be different timelines for different activities that constitute whatever your strategy or your grant is. And then we also do monthly calls and site assessments. We have monthly calls early on with new sites, at least for a year. We check in monthly just to make sure that you have everything you need, that you're accomplishing your goals in your project. And then we communicate that with BJA so they can stay on top of things. And also we want to share any successes, any innovative solutions that you've come up with the prosecution field in general. So we do like to take these interesting ideas that people come up with and say, hey, this site is doing X and it's really having some interesting outcomes. You should explore this particular activity if it's something that will address a violent crime issue in your community. And then we also do a site assessment where we're just going over what you said you were going to do, how you're going to accomplish it, any TTA needs that you might have, so that we can start working on those right away. We recognize that for a lot of these projects, a prosecutor in the office will be assigned to lead this particular project. And this may not be their only project, right? They might still be trying cases, they might do other things. And so anything we can take off your plate to help move these projects forward, that's what we want to do. And a lot of times there are similar activities that every site needs. And so we develop tools that we keep on our website or that we share with you to make your job easier as you go forward with these projects. We do a lot of training as part of our IPS support. And currently, of course, all that training is virtual, but we're still doing training and we're still doing it interactively. And we still do skill building. And so it could be any topic that you need assistance with. And it is generally related to some strategy you're employing. We have a lot of in-house expertise in the team that we can do training on. And if we don't, we have a cadre of subject matter experts that we reach out to assist with training. So for example, we've done a little bit of training on witness intimidation. And so Chris Hammond and myself and one of our subject matter experts, Steve Siegel, have put together a 3-part training on how you address witness intimidation and witness protection in your community. And so this would be sort of a basic overview, and then we could work more closely with you if you wanted more assistance on that. We also do in-person training and hope to get back to doing some of the in-person training, which is often you're able to do a little more when you do it in person. It's customized to your jurisdiction, so we do it based on your state law. We recently did training on investigating and prosecuting domestic violence for a site in Georgia. And so we just did the research on Georgia. We have a lot of in-house expertise on investigating and prosecuting those cases, but we also use subject matter experts from the International Association of Chiefs of Police and from the International Association of Forensic Nurses to cover certain aspects like strangulation and identifying the predominant aggressor. And it's all based on Georgia law that we do the research for. And these trainings can be for just the prosecutor's office, it can be for prosecutors and police, or whoever's on your team. A lot of our projects involve multidisciplinary projects where they're working police, prosecutors, it could be some sort of community-based organization, it could be a U.S. attorney partner that is involved, things like that. So whatever the training need is, we'll do it. And our partners and external experts, as I mentioned, all help us with those trainings. So we also do a lot of legal research. So, and we get calls, you know, sometimes it's, I'm going to trial or I'm in trial and I need this turned around very quickly. And we're happy to do that and we're able to do that. We just typically will get the request. It might be on a monthly call, you mentioned something, or it might be you reach out because there's an urgency. You don't have to wait till the next monthly call. You just reach out to us and then we'll start that process and we can do that, turn that around pretty quickly. If it's not an urgent request, then we'll, you know, take our time with it. But if it is urgent, we will turn it around very quickly. And if we have experience or have access to experience in that particular issue, we will respond in person or connect you with the expert that we know can help you with that issue. We do a lot of social science research. Our partners at RTI do social science research for us as well, and they have researched a lot of issues. We had a site that was working on opioids, and they wanted to produce some advertisements for it, but they wanted to know what was effective advertising for a particular age group, a younger audience that they were trying to do some prevention. And RTI pulled together some great information for us on that. They do a lot of other things as well related to diversion, prosecutor-led diversion. They have a whole criminal justice section over there. They also have some of the funding opportunities that Tammy mentioned, like the Saki project, the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative. That is an RTI project that they can provide a lot of assistance with. They have forensic evidence assistance as well. So we can connect you with all that assistance. And it's not just training that we do. We will talk through issues with you as well. Sometimes it's easier to reach out to us than maybe even somebody in your own office to figure out an issue. So feel free to reach out if you end up being a grantee. I should also mention that we don't only provide assistance to grantees. We provide assistance to any prosecutor's office that reaches out for a problem that they might have. So even if you don't end up being a grantee, but you have a violent crime issue that you wanted some assistance with, please reach out to us and we will do our best to assist you on We also work on developing strategies. It might be a particular case or crime level strategy. So we have a library of sample motions. In domestic violence, it might be a motion for forfeiture by wrongdoing, where you're going to admit a witness's statements where the defendant has acted in a way to make that witness unavailable. We have some motions related to digital evidence that are comprehensive that you might want to look at if you have an issue related to digital evidence, which is affecting every crime that we have now. You're always going to find evidence on a phone or on a computer or somewhere. So you want to look for that evidence. We also do office level strategies if you need to refine policies or protocols or trying to create performance metrics for your office on a particular issue. We also have, because we're currently working with 43 sites that have 49 different projects. So that means several of our sites have more than one IPS project. So even if you currently have an IPS project, you're not prohibited from applying for a new project. You can apply for another project. And we have about 6 sites that have 2 projects. Because folks are tackling similar issues, whether it's related to gun crime or opioids or digital evidence or diversion, we have folks that have already experienced a lot of the challenges and overcome them. And so we will set up peer-to-peer calls for folks to talk through the issues that they've recently encountered and overcome. It could be related to, some of our sites have created early alert systems for arrests so that they know someone who's on their in their view for pushing violent crime in their jurisdiction. Anytime they're arrested, they want to know, and they want to know what it's about. And so how do you develop those? How do you develop them with integrity so that they're not biased instruments, and make sure that they are well-grounded and perform the way you want them to perform? So we've had folks that have done things like that. Other folks working on opioids often are interested in opioid fatality review. So that's where you've had a fatality and you're trying to determine what happened, and if there were other ways that we could have intervened or assisted this individual that we didn't think about or missed, we want to close those gaps. So we do peer-to-peer on things like that. And it can be anything. They're really great conversations, and just connecting one site or a couple of sites with the other about a particular topic. And as I mentioned, we have a bunch of subject matter experts. They're on our website if you want to look through it, on a variety of topics. So if you needed assistance related to a particular expertise, you could look there and either reach out to that expert on your own, or reach out to us to connect you with that expert. We also, every project is going to do some sort of evaluation of their project. And so you will want to be collecting certain data to just determine if your project is having the impact that was intended. Sometimes, and these lessons, these projects, even if a particular aspect of your project doesn't work, that's still a lesson learned. And that's a great thing that we can share with people, that, here's some challenges with this particular approach or this particular aspect, or something we learned early on that wasn't working and we were able to correct it, and then it proved more fruitful. So you're going to want to do things to collect data and analyze that data, and we can help you with that as well. RTI, our partner, does a lot of work in this area, and they are very expert in helping determine what kind of performance metrics do you want to create, what kind of evaluation do you want to do. It's a 2-year grant, so how much of an outcome evaluation can you do? Because you'll have some startup time, and then you'll hit the ground running with doing your project, and will you have enough time to figure out the outcomes, or all the outcomes of what it is you're doing? So they're great at helping with that. We help folks with software ideas about what they want their software to do. We don't really ever endorse a product, but we do help people think about, we need to collect data in this area, and we need this type of information. So again, when you're doing performance metrics, you're going to want to look beyond, say, just conviction rates or charging rates. You want to get more of a quality evaluation to know that you're doing a good job. We don't win every case, or you might have a high conviction rate and it's not telling the full story about the approach to that particular issue. So ourselves and RTI are very helpful in figuring out what should we be looking at and how can we collect that information. And it's not always numbers. Sometimes it's qualitative information. So do you want to do surveys of partners on the project? Do you want to do surveys of the maybe victims of the crime you're targeting to see if their experience has improved, if that's an aspect of your project? So we do evaluations of both quantitative and qualitative areas. Here's just sort of a random list of successful proposals that we've had. So many sites have been targeting firearms crime. So we have a couple of projects that are focusing on both fatal and non-fatal shootings, where they are targeting particular high crime areas with this crime and doing different approaches that are innovative, whether it's an early alert system. One of our sites has a one-man grand jury system that they use to speed along investigative processes and get people in as witnesses before the grand juror as quickly as possible. Social media investigations and social network analysis or social media analysis of the evidence that's collected there is another aspect of many crimes, particularly violent crime. So when you can investigate effectively an individual, a suspect's social media, you might be able to connect others to that crime and climb the ladder of that crime, whatever it might be. Say it's drug dealing and you're getting a street level dealer, but you want to get the person above them and the person above them. It might be through social media evidence. Violence against women, we have several projects that have dedicated a domestic violence prosecutor, a dedicated sexual violence prosecutor. We have projects that are focused on human trafficking, both in the investigation and prosecution, and then also diversion of victims of human trafficking who might get charged in your system still, or they might have been victims of human trafficking and now are committing, say, drug-related crimes. But it's all related to that earlier victimization. And so they work on those crimes from that angle. So it can be any kind of approach to these violent crimes. And there's been a lot of interesting ones. Some have explored diversion programs. One program was looking at youthful offenders, both juvenile and young adults up to a certain age that were at moderate risk of reoffending rather than low risk of reoffending, thinking some of those low risk people are going to be successful with or without diversion. This moderate risk group maybe could benefit more from intensive diversion services. And so they explored that. There's opioid related crime. Some jurisdictions have multi-pronged approaches to what they're doing. And it could be involving different things like an expungement clinic that we're going to build community trust or engage the community in a way that builds that trust. And then they're also doing other investigation and prosecution of, say, opioids, along with this diversionary or remediary process of expungement. Many of our sites are just adding technology, upgrading their case management systems. So many of the sites have done that, and that's a perfectly legitimate purpose for your grant. They have technology to assist with discovery, technology to improve information sharing and analytics. Some of our sites have, one of our sites hired a NIBIN prosecutor. Tammy was talking about the CGIC, the Crime Gun Intelligence Center, and they hired a prosecutor to work with their CGIC and prosecute just these cases and work closely with them. So you might just add personnel. Some are hiring analysts and things like that. So those are some of the things that you might want to do. This isn't an exhaustive list. It can be anything. And so please think about the different things that you want to do. And I think that's the last slide before our contact. And of course, you can reach out to either one of us. But I do see, it looks like we have a question or comment here. If we receive the grant, are services from IPS mandatory for our project? Do we need to reserve some percentage of funds for their services? If so, how much? And Tammy, do you want to?
Sure. No. So we actually separately fund Equitas through a TTA grant. So they have funding themselves to provide these services and assist you all. So the 340 is directly to whatever kind of initiative or proposal that you are making. So you do not need to set aside funds for them.
But you are required to work with us.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
which hasn't been an issue. Everybody's great on these projects and they do work with us. So, but yeah, none of your funding goes through that, but you will be doing monthly calls. We will help you with action planning and things like that. And we will keep BJA in the loop about the progress of your project.
And John, earlier on, I think I saw a question about the time frame for when we'd be announcing the awards. So it will probably be mid to late September, which I know isn't ideal because the awards start on October 1st. But I can also talk a little bit about the process. So once you all submit applications, we do what's called a peer review. So we contract with individuals that have experience either in the prosecution world or with working with prosecutors or, have themselves done innovative things in the field. So they review your applications, they score them, and then they're submitted to us and we review them and just do an internal review. And then we make recommendations up to our director level and then up to our director of the Office of Justice Programs, and then they make the final decision, and then we're able to announce the awards.
Great. And I see a couple more questions. Yes, we will send a copy of this PowerPoint to everyone who registered for the webinar. Additionally, this is being recorded, so it will be posted on our website and you can access it or you can share it with anybody you want to look at your leisure for any information. You can also reach out to myself or Tammy or Equitas generally if you have any questions. And then I see a question, can we apply for a new grant if we were awarded and currently facilitating the first grant that you got under IPS? And the answer is yes. So we have, and people always sort of ask that question. It's a good question. We just got an IPS grant. Can we apply for another one? Yes, you can. Obviously, there's competition for these grants. So you want to have the best grant project possible. Some of our sites that have multiple grants have two independent projects under IPS. Some of them have expanded on an original project idea and are doing some other aspect of it in a different way or in more detail or more intently. So it can be anything along those lines for that project proposal. Let me see what else we have. If we are a 2020 grant recipient and we'll be looking to extend our grant beyond the 2021, 2022 years, would it be wise to submit an application this April or next? We'd be working in the same area of prosecution. So Tammy, if I'm reading that correctly, I don't think you could apply this time to continue work on a grant that hasn't ended or isn't ending.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, and the reason for that is we want to make sure you have the opportunity to expend the money down that we've already provided. So we wouldn't necessarily provide additional funds for a same project if you already had existing funds for that project. That makes sense. Now, you would be eligible if you wanted to apply for a different concept or a different initiative or project. But if it was just simply, for the existing one, then we wouldn't likely fund that.
Okay. And then we have, can we review project ideas with Equitas before applying for the grant to help pick up the right project? And so I always feel, so people do reach out to us and I just feel funny about that because I wouldn't want to steer somebody wrong. And I just sort of feel like if you have a good idea, just go with your good idea. You can get ideas about what projects have previously been funded by reading on the website about existing projects. I would always talk to anybody who reaches out to us, but that's really an area where I just feel like what I think may not be what BJA thinks. I don't know, Tammy, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would just encourage you to, look at the resources on their website, the other previous projects and the types of things that we've funded. I mean, certainly if you have a logistical question or want more information about a site project, you could reach out to Equitas and they could help sort of facilitate that. But, we want this to be your idea. We want it to be something that you guys are interested in executing if you do receive the funding. So I guess I would encourage you to, and as John said, it varies what types of things that we fund. So just because there are things we funded in the past, doesn't mean there aren't new ideas or other things that we'd like to see in the field.
Yeah. And then, does all funding need to be spent during the 2-year contract time period? Tammy, do you want to touch that?
Sure. Ideally, yes, but we do offer extensions if they're needed and they can be justified. And usually that's a one-time extension of 1 year. So realistically, the longest the project, unless there's, crazy extenuating circumstances, would be 3 years.
Yeah. And some of the projects that are adding personnel, the grant funds are predominantly to the personnel. I wouldn't expect those to go much beyond 2 years unless there was just a lag in bringing that person on. It's just how those work, that all the funding is really salary, and that's what happens. Let's see, any other, did I miss one? Yeah. Oh no, just thank you. I think, does anybody else have any other questions? And you don't have to ask in this forum. If you want to shoot us an email or give us a quick call, we're happy to answer those questions as they come up about any of this related to applying for an IPS grant, or connect you with folks if it's related to one of the other grant opportunities. We did have one more. Nope, that's just a thank you. Tammy, did you have anything else?
No, I just, encourage you all to apply and also utilize the services that John discussed, even if you're not a grantee. And, please utilize us as a resource. We're here to help you guys, and we just look forward to working with you.
Great, and same here. We will send everybody the slides just so you have them and you can look at different things that you want. And this will be put on our website probably early next week, so that if you or you knew somebody in your office or in another office that was interested in this, or you think might be interested, please share it with them or let them know about it. Thank you, everyone. And we hope to see some great applications for IPS work in the near future, and look forward to working with some of you in the next round of grants.